So you're ready to start figuring out how to put your information into the FAD. If you have a recent up-to-date resume or Vita, you can easily copy and paste portions of it into the various components that are there for the FAD. You can't upload your entire Vita because we're putting in individual pieces of data now that eventually can come out through the biannual report or whatever. So how are you going to do this? Well, keep in mind you've got your basic 3 or in some cases 4 areas. You've got your teaching, your service, your scholarship. You might have administrative duties or advising, and for some of us, librarianship. So what are you going to do? Well, first of all, you've got to plan. You need to plan some specific gaps of time. I'd say 30 minutes, maybe a day, maybe every other day, but put it onto your calendar. FAD time. I'm going to work on the FAD. And then decide what you're going to do. Are you going to work on the teaching portion, the scholarship portion, service, or whatever? Decide what you're going to do. If there are some things that you want to upload to those places, especially for the biennial report that we allow you to do that'll show up as links in the electronic generated report, get those ready. Put them someplace. Make sure you know, okay, these are the things I want to upload for teaching, maybe some student evaluations, maybe a syllabus or 2. Put them someplace in a file where it's very, very easy to just do that particular thing. There may be some items that you just have lying around that have some information on them that you're going to want to put into the FAD, and again, just get those ready to go. If you have electronic items that you want to store and they are in Word, I would suggest to save them as a PDF. You can upload Word or PDF, but PDF, of course, makes the document static. It can't be changed by anybody on the way through the process. All right, some of your things, in fact, probably a lot of them, the information is going to be in an email, perhaps an email that said you've been accepted to do a presentation at a conference, maybe an email that indicates that your book is going to be published, your chapter is going to be published. So number 1, the information's in the email, and number 2, you might need to store that document. Very easy to save an email to a PDF format as long as you have access to Adobe Acrobat Pro. We discovered this summer that not everyone has that on their computers, and that caused a brief problem, except Adobe Acrobat Pro is one of the many applications that you can download from the Information Technology download set. And I'll be glad to tell you where that is if you don't have it. So once you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, then you can save anything as a PDF, and that just helps standardize the information that you're going to do. In some cases, you'll discover that information is already in the FAD for this time period. Your basic teaching load is in there. Some of your university and college service should be in there. And so you may just need to add some information or update some of it. So you might also make sure that you print a copy of that opening menu screen so that you can look at it and say, all right, I know I'm going to work on teaching. Where am I going to be? Okay, I'm going to be here. Oh, wait a minute, I also do some directed student advising for theses or whatever. So again, just kind of prepare for what you're going to go ahead and put in. The worst case scenario, you may just have big stacks of print stuff laying around your office and you need to get that information into the FAD. So again, get it organized. Go through your stacks, move them from one side of your office to another, and take everything out of your filing cabinet and put stuff back in after you've gotten it into the FAD. Set aside piles of stuff that you think you're going to want to scan and upload as a permanent record of your activities. Now, what's going to take the longest? Well, your teaching. Every semester that you've been teaching since summer of 2013 is going to be listed, and it's going to show up in the biennial review as a table. And so you will want to look at that information. You may just leave the basic information alone. You may want to store student evaluations or a syllabus. So if you decide that you want to do that for absolutely every course, then that's going to take time and, of course, organization. If you get a lot of contracts, grants, fellowships, or sponsored research, again, within this 2-year period, you've got to input all of that data. Just put it in, copy and paste it, which brings me to a point that's very important. Built into the FAD is something called the pasteboard. So if you have a document and you want to cut and paste from the document into the FAD, you can do it one of two ways, directly from the document into the FAD, but that might get a little tiresome. So what you do is you take the piece of the document that you want and you put it into the FAD's pasteboard. Look for that on the bottom of the screen, and then that pasteboard sits on top of the FAD and you can move around through it, put information wherever you want to do. You can cut and paste, but even more fun, you can drop and drag, because remember, we're putting the individual elements of the citation, for example, in, and so that can get a little tiresome, especially if you've been very productive these last couple of years. Advising. You'll definitely want to prepare a short document that indicates any particular information about advising beyond simply the number of advisees. And in fact, you may discover that the number of advisees that's listed for you is incorrect. So be sure to be ready to do that. And likewise for intellectual contributions, if you've been doing a lot of publishing, then you need to make sure that you have all of that information ready and you're going to put it in. And also for the biennial review, you're going to be keeping track of things that you've done, but also things that are in progress. And the FAD will allow you to indicate if something is begun, has been submitted, has been resubmitted, and you'll want to keep a record of all of that. One of the things I can't stress too much is dates. Those of you who were here between about 2003 and 2010, your old data, if you put it into that version of the database, is still there. If you've not looked at that information since then, a whole bunch of those things, especially in service, are going to have open-ended dates, which will show up as things you accomplished during 2013, 2015, and you may have done something in 2009. So you're going to have to take the time, once you generate your first draft of your biennial report, pay very close attention to start dates and end dates, and if you see things that did not happen during 2013, 2015, then you're going to have to go back into the FAD, find that entry, and number one, if you decide it's not important, you can simply delete it. But if you decide it is important, you can add the end date. Number one, that keeps the activity in the database, but also it takes it out of your biennial review, because you've got to stick to the things that only occurred 2013 to 2015. If you run into any problems with that, you can certainly talk to us, but you'll notice that very clearly when you run the drafts of your biennial review. If there's something not right, it'll be pretty obvious. I think that's where we'll end this recording. And of course, if you have any questions at any time about putting information in, getting information out, you can talk to me, Marcia Miller at instate.edu, or of course Susan Powers. Also, you should be talking to your associate deans in your colleges. They are the main point people from this point forward to help you with all things FAD. And remember, the FAD is fab.